Hello, everybody. This is episode 14 of the live virtual Homeschool Hints series. So, we've been doing a video series because we know many of you are starting to think about homeschooling for the very first time. And so, for 14 days, this is day 14, I have been going live, sometimes with a guest, to share with you how we homeschool and what materials we use. We talked about, getting started. We talked about the difference between homeschooling and remote schooling. We've just had so many really great conversations. And so we are actually wrapping up this series. And tomorrow is actually probably going to be the last day. I'll continue to do some updates though, because if you have questions, I want to be a resource that you can go to and get your questions answered. And if I don't know the answer, I always want to get a guest who is knowledgeable and an expert in that area who can answer your questions. So today is a unique day because I am actually showing you guys my homeschool room. And before we do that, let me introduce myself. I am Elle Cole. I'm from the blog cleverlychanging.com. It is a blog about homeschooling, parenting, also health and wellness, and finance. I share my unique journey as a mom and what has brought me to be a homeschool mom, as well as an entrepreneur, and how I work and make it work teaching my kids and also homeschooling. So I want to just give you an opportunity to check out my podcast. I am the co-host of the Cleverly Changing podcast. I host a show with my friend and we talk about homeschooling. We are two homeschool moms who have been making it work year after year. And so we share full transparency about how it actually works. And what's unique about the podcast is is broken up into three different segments. The first segment is an intro where we talk about something African centered. Then the middle portion is where you get to hear from the cleverly cultured kids. That is definitely one of my favorite segments because you get to hear from my kids. Sometimes we have guest kids, and they're not only sharing, sometimes they share a biography about someone that's important to them. And sometimes they're actually answering questions and giving you an inside look into the life of homeschooling from a kid's perspective. So I think that's one of my favorite segments, just because it's not, you don't have to take our word for homeschooling. You get to actually hear from our kids and you get to hear their thoughts. And they don't always say what we want them to say. They are fully honest. So you get to hear what the first thing that they think of, which is very unique. And I think it's cool. The final third section is the grown folks section, where we usually, Miriam and I, who's my co-host, we talk to a guest about what's going on in the homeschool world. This new season 3, that is going to be coming up, that is the series where we're going to be talking to professionals and really trying to see what they can teach our homeschoolers. So we're going to be transitioning that grown folks section a little bit for season 3, but you can listen to all of our past shows and learn from our homeschool experience. You can send us questions and topics that you want to hear from. So it has been just an awesome journey. And so I want to say thank you for joining that journey, for sharing the podcast with your friends, for telling other people about it. It has really been an incredible journey. So the audio podcast started in 2019. So here we are in 2020, and we've been doing a video series to go along with it. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you are watching this, and just let me know you're here. Just say hi in the comments section. Continue to share this podcast with a friend. So just click that share button so that someone else can know about this series. Also, if you are watching the replay, let me know that you are watching the replay by hitting the word replay by typing in the word replay in the comment section. That would be very helpful so that I can know that you're watching this series even after it has aired live. So I know you've been waiting. Where do I teach my kids? So I want to say that my homeschool room isn't completely finished because right now we are on a break. But it does give you a gist of where we homeschool, how we set things up to make it work. So that's really what I wanted to share with you guys. So I'm going to show you different sections of the room and really kind of explain what you're looking at and how it works. So we're going to start with the chalkboard. So let's see. I'm going to try to flip the camera. I may not be able to. So this is our chalkboard where we actually explain information. So you need to have a board. We actually have two. That is the blackboard where we just painted the wall, and there's a border around it with wood. So it does have extra lights. So I'm going to try to turn on the extra lights so that you can see a little bit better. All right. So here is our chalkboard that we use to explain concepts. So every homeschool doesn't need to have a designated room and area. Like you can choose to do it in your dining room. You can do it at your kitchen table. You can do it at your kitchen island. I have homeschool in all of those places, but we do have a designated homeschool room because I like to keep my homeschool stuff in one area so it's not all over the house. So we also have this table. Let's see if you can see it. So we have a table with chairs, and every every homeschool room needs a work surface. So here is one of the work surfaces that we have. And what's great is when we want to sit down with our kids and explain something or read something, we just add two more chairs and sit there with them. I have twins, so that's why it typically only has two chairs. So we also have a game section. So this is our games. We have a lot of board games that we play and that we enjoy. So that we use bookshelves to house our games, and those bookshelves. So this particular bookshelf came from IKEA. So that's where we got our bookshelf from. We do have a TV. Sometimes, let's see if we can see it. So we do have a TV. We actually have Chromecast so that we can show different lessons on the TV. It's not something that you absolutely need. Can I homeschool effectively without doing that? Absolutely. But it is one of the things that I do show my kids. I often put like Brain Pop. It's a resource that you've heard me talk about. Sorry, I'm trying to get into the camera. It's a resource that you've heard me talk about, and we air the lessons through Chromecast so that our kids can see it. All right. So let's see. We have a keyboard. It's not plugged in right now because they haven't been practicing, but that gives our kids an opportunity to practice. That's a lesson that my husband teaches. I don't really go through the keyboard classes, but he does. And we have a curriculum through our library. There are like videos that are recorded where you can get keyboarding lessons. So that's what we use for that. There is an exercise bike in here as well for days that are raining or, we don't want to go outside. We encourage the kids to exercise using the exercise bike. And I often use it as well to exercise. I get up early and try to get my exercise in that way. So we do have this game on the wall. Sometimes I use that to ask my kids questions, and they can kind of it's like darts, but it's with so it's like a Velcro game. It's like darts. So if you can hear, it's these little things that you throw and it sticks on the wall. And so I use that to ask them questions and test them and quiz them so they can take a shot after they answer the questions. So that's how I use that. Let's see. So we also have another workstation here. And this is where we keep like our supplies. So pencils, scissors, markers, what have you. And this is our supplies. We also we have one desktop computer in here that our kids can use that they get a certain amount of time and we let them um, learn and do their assignments that way. So there we have a printer. These are just some of the things that like I think every homeschool needs to have a printer so that you can print out things as needed. Okay. So here's my other section. Again, you don't have to have all these things. I have been homeschooling. This to be my 7th year. So this is just how some years I use this room more than others. Some years, we kind of stay at the island. So it just depends. But this is where we keep our books. And we have a lot of books. And this isn't the only bookshelf we have. Our kids have bookshelves in their room. Reading is a really big part of our family's life. So we had to have a space for our books. And this is the exact same bookshelf that I also keep the games in. So this one, it has books like a bookshelf would, but the other one has board games. All right, so I mentioned that we also have another board. You don't have to have two, but I use a whiteboard for other lessons. So on one of the boards, I'll put like this board, I'll put the assignments. This is what you need to go over and it doesn't really get erased that like for the week. I'll put the assignments for the week, and then that other board is where we explain the lessons. So that's what I do. That's what works for me. And every homeschool needs an organization system. So I'm about to show you our organization system. You don't have to do this again. I've been homeschooling for a long time, so the longer you homeschool, the more stuff and supplies you'll gather. And I should be going through regularly and getting rid of stuff, but I don't always, I don't always do that. So, so I have a lot of crafts, and this is where I keep like curriculum and stuff that I don't necessarily want my kids to go through. So I'm gonna show you. Let's see. So this is my system with the bins. So we use a bin system. So like this bin says arts and crafts, and this one says school supplies, and this one is for microscopes, and like we have electronic games and things like that. So you will organize your bin system or whatever system you use the way you want. And really, your homeschool room is going to depend on the space that you have. In this room, when my kids were younger, we did have posters all over every single wall. And we actually recently took those down because we wanted it. My kids are older, they're in middle school now, and that was very elementary school. So we wanted them to feel like, hey, you're moving up, you're moving into a different area. And so we were like, those posters are kind of kiddie. So we decided to take those posters down. But you do need a system that works for you, that provides the education resources that you need. So for the most part, that is my homeschool room. I do often like there's a toy box in here, and actually we probably should be getting rid of it because our kids they don't play with toys as much as they used to. So let's see if you can see that. So right there is the toy box that they used to use. And I think it's just important. The key is you need to have a system for instruction. So that's what the chalkboard is. It is our system where we actually explain information. So you could literally just have a handheld whiteboard or a handheld board where you do that. You don't have to recreate what we have in our home because it's not necessary. And depending on how you homeschool, or if you're remote learning and remote schooling, you're going to need something completely different altogether. But I think one of the things is important to have is a place for instruction. So having a whiteboard that you put up in every home that we've lived, we've had a whiteboard that we've put up so that we could write our to-do list and things to do or to explain stuff. The next thing I think is very important to have is a workspace. So that's what this table was, where my kids can sit down and do their work, read their books, and just have a place where they can see the board if I'm explaining something and they can take notes or jot things down. I think those are things that are very important for every single homeschool. Another thing that I think is important for every single homeschool is a bookshelf. You need a place to put books. So, you may not have as many as we do, especially now that so many books are digital. You don't really, you can have them all on a Kindle or on any digital tablet or device. So those things are optional, but you will have some books in the house. So a bookshelf is another thing that I think is definitely important to have. I love the board games. So if I had a closet with shelves, I wouldn't have this bookshelf out in the open. I would just have the closet with shelves. So I think, kind of like a linen closet and you put your board games in there. To me, that would be a better solution. In our closet, we don't have shelves. Sure, we could make them, but I haven't done that yet. So I just have the bookshelf that we bought that we put the board games in. I think in a classroom, having some musical instrument for us it's a keyboard, but if you're a musical family and you have a guitar, you have recorders, flutes, whatever musical instrument that you guys play, I think it's important for every homeschool to introduce music, even if you're introducing it via like the radio or something like that. So I think music is an important component. And so you also need a place, whether you're doing it outside, you need a place to exercise. So more likely than not, you're going to be exercising outside. So that's something that's important because but you can exercise inside and you don't need any equipment to do that. You just need a plan. So that is something to think about. But every homeschool room needs a storage option, a bookshelf, a place to explain instruction, and a workspace. So those are things that I think are really important. And this is how my homeschool room is set up. It has worked for us. And right now we are modifying things because I mentioned that my kids are in middle school now. So we are changing some things. And so I'm going through the bins, I'm going through the games because, yeah, my kids are 11. They no longer find joy playing Candyland. So it is time for us to get rid of Candyland. We have like a construction shop, one of the kids' construction shops. My kids don't play with that anymore. So it's also time for us to get rid of that as well. And so as your kids grow, you're going to find that you need to start rotating stuff out so that your room doesn't get cluttered. And I think that's really important. You want to have a nice, clean system that so that your kids can think. You don't want to overwhelm them with just too much stuff. So you want to be able to go exactly to the things that you need and to be able to use them. So if you have too much stuff, you won't know where anything is. So those are just my tips. And this has just kind of been, my transparency about where I teach my kids and what works for us at home. So if you have questions and you're online, let me know and I will answer the questions. But if not, feel free to check out any of my past episodes All of the live episodes will be on YouTube. So check out YouTube. You can also check out my audio episodes on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, wherever, most places that you are listening to podcasts, you can find my podcast on that platform. So definitely check out past episodes. There are over 38 episodes, and the titles will tell you what the podcast is about. And how do you get to my podcast? You can get there from my website, cleverlychanging.com. Just go to the top tab where it says podcast, and you can check out all of those past episodes. So it doesn't look like anybody has any questions, but this has been my homeschool, and I hope that, I wish you guys a wonderful year, and just continue to reach out for support. You definitely need to have a support system. That's what the last show, episode 13, was about. So go to episode 13, watch that show about how to create a community of support. And if you need anything, if you have questions, or just, you want to reach out, feel free to do that. You can email me at cleverlychanging@gmail.com, or you can connect with me on Instagram at cleverlychanging, or you can connect with me right here on Facebook at Cleverly Changing as well. So YouTube is youtube.com/cleverlychanging. And that's really it, folks. That's my homeschool room. And if you guys want to send in different pictures of your homeschool rooms so that I can put them in a blog post, I will be accepting submissions, and you can just email me at cleverlychanging@gmail.com. All right. Bye. Thanks for tuning in.